This is Dirk Rogers. Not only am I the singer of Bad Acid Trip, but I'm also your favorite creature in whatever you've seen recently, and I've worked on a couple of the movies that you may have seen in the cinema or in your home theater. And you are so lucky to be listening to Verbal Shenanigans.
But our shenanigans are cheeky and fun.
Yeah, I mean, his shenanigans are cruel and tragic.
Which makes them not shenanigans at all, really. Evil shenanigans.
I swear to God, I'll pistol whip the next guy that says shenanigans.
Hello, everybody. Welcome on back to the Verbal Shenanigans podcast. I know it's been a minute. And I'm just going to have to let Mike explain that because, you know, it's kind of rude of him that every time we've had an opportunity to podcast, he's got something going on. He's got a, Washington Manders, as he calls it, podcast. I don't know what it is. It's the last 2 weeks. It's like he's busy or something and just not really caring about the listener. Things are, he's got other priorities in his life that are apparently too much. I've been here, on the other hand. I'll just let the kids run around, cry. It doesn't really matter. I'm down here waiting to broadcast, and he just doesn't seem to show up. I'm not really sure. Mike, explain yourself.
Well, I realize I know the fans love me, but I haven't heard it as abundant as of late.
Wow,
so this is my little... Yeah, so I've said to myself, you know what? Daddy's got to do a little tough love right here. I know you all love me and want to hear my voice, but you know what? Since you're not getting to the volumes that I'm accustomed to, I'm going to let you wait for a minute and see if you understand what you did wrong. So I expect an apology from every single listener. Send it directly to me, and I would like videos. I would like bouquets of flowers. I would like tributes shaved into mountains, just the normal things that I deserve.
Now, you had me until you had tribute shaved into mountains. How does one go? Like, are you talking like a bust of yourself, like a Rushmore-esque mountain?
I'm not one to put people in a box, Scott. What they do with the mountain, what they put in the mountain is up to them. As long as I stare at it and go, yes, that is a proper apology towards them not acknowledging me. That's all I care about.
Ironically, I wish they would put you in a box, but it's neither here nor there. So you're going to slap the hand that feeds you a little bit, give them a little slap on the wrist. Yeah. If you want me, I need to feel it. I need to feel more appreciated. Right.
Yeah. I mean, 500's coming up. If it keeps on dwindling and all, I might have to say I retire at $4.99. Just throwing it out there, people.
Gotcha.
Just remember that.
All right. I'll come clean. Honestly, I've just been living in, newborn hell a little bit. Not that it's been bad per se. Like I've been, like it's been out of control. It just seems every time we are scheduled to record or whatnot, I got one kid who's awake, another kid who's crying. The other night, my son felt sick, and I was up with him for a while. So it's just been a little bit more of the childhood inconvenience, if I will. What I want to do is I need more appreciation from them, from my 3.5-year-old and my 6-week-old. I need more appreciation from them. It's never like, Daddy, you should go podcast. Like, Daddy, we really love the podcast. It's always like, oh, I need food or a snack or breast milk or whatever it is. I'm not feeling much back from my children already.
Well, I would be upset too if my child asked me to give him breast milk. I gotta be honest, Scott. I mean, I've been tapped for a little bit and all. I mean, granted, I'd probably put a hose with like water through it and all just to make him happy, but
So your solution is Michael Burlew's hose water breast simulator.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the ladies don't want to go through that hassle. No, they prefer formula, but all the mothers nowadays are like, oh, you gotta breastfeed the kid, and you get closer to them and the internal nutrients, blah blah blah. Now, hose water has basically every vitamin humanly possible, and as long as you have an opening for it to go through the nipple, it works.
So what you're saying is like you're actually giving mothers a break. The babies don't really need that nutrients. They just need a little bit of hose water from their dad in a shirt. I guess you said you put a hose through a shirt, and
right through right through the memory, right into the,
Okay.
I mean, I don't want to be like considered fake or anything. So that's why, that's the compromise to the hose water.
So you have to get some kind of surgically implanted connection, like where you like almost like a faucet.
Yeah, I feel like you just gotta get like a good like piercing and all. You get like 10 piercings right in a row, right in the area, so the hose can find its way in and just turn it on, and the kids will get the nourishment. I mean, it's kind of hot outside, so the hose water will be warm enough, like it is like from the body. So
Yeah, so this is why nobody's missed us for the last 2 weeks. We're starting right off where we generally the places.
Oh, because I haven't shared that with them before. You know what? I apologize for once, ladies and gentlemen. Now I understand why you fell back a little bit. Now we're on good terms. Let's get back to the usual amount.
Well, ironically, we go away for 2 weeks, and nothing happens in the world on the political stage or anything. Just a nice 2 dead weeks of nothing to talk about. First we had Joe Biden basically bomb his what do you call it, debate. Okay, and then essentially being booted out by the Democratic Party, or trying to be forced out, as if no one saw that one coming. Maybe everyone but the actual Democratic Party has been saying this for a good part of the last 4 years. Mike, your thoughts on Biden's performance and the good old DNC's smart logistical, let's keep forcing grandpa out there, and keep pretending people are behind this man.
Well, I mean, I was going to complain, but then in the dead time, I listened to a few podcasts and I heard myself talking for a little while. So
right.
I think he's right on par. Exactly. I mean, I feel like his words are eloquent, and just because there's pauses and incorrect stuff that comes out doesn't mean it isn't an amazing thing that's going on right there.
So you took it as he's actually really doing a great, fantastic job in the public eye.
I feel like that's how they trained him. Like he was in, what's that, Camp David? Is that the presidential getaway?
Yeah.
And I feel like they spent the entire week playing episodes of Verbal Shenanigans, and they say, that's who you want to hit. That's what you want to be, Mr. President. That's how you got to go.
All right. So here's a question for you. If they were to take you and Joe Biden, okay, and well, just because you've never been on the debate stage before, we'll do it just like they did. No audience or anything that you got to worry about. This isn't like, comedy days where you might get nervous before. It's just you and Joe Biden and maybe me and one of the people from CNN as the mediators, if you will.
Okay.
You think you would do an equal job to Biden? You think you'd be able to hang with him, or do you think he'd mop the floor with you, or do you think you'd mop the floor with him?
Oh, I think I'd swing away and he'd have no prayer. Personally. Okay. I feel like, he was trying to imitate the source. So how on earth can he be better than the source material? It's impossible.
Now, do you think you would save the hose water theory, breast thing until later in the debate? Would that be the last closing argument, kind of?
Well, I mean, when we tweak Obamacare, that'll be a part of it. We'll have, insurance companies pay for the openings for the hose water to help out everybody that's parenting right now. I feel like that would be like, that's something you say for like 2 weeks till the election. That way, when they hear it, it's like, oh, slam dunk. Now, like, I don't need to hear anything more than, oh, this is my candidate right here.
Truly, future forward thinking stuff from you, Burlew. I think maybe, we're assuming Kamala Harris is going to be the VP, but what about a late call to old Burlew over there? You and Biden just being buddies, telling the world how it is, forgetting words, butchering the English language. I think you guys could be perfect together.
It's great, and I'm going to continue with the podcast. Now I'll have the power when people don't respond back to my emails, like, we really want you on the Verbal Shenanigans podcast. the SWAT teams just show up to their house and grab them and put them in front of a mic where I ask them questions about their dogs.
And let's be honest, for you, the last 10 years has really been searching for power. It hasn't really been about anything else deep down, like interesting people or funny content. You've been really just searching for that power angle for a while. You've told us about how you picture minions and people, throwing flowers at your feet and, chanting your name and different things, that you're first one in heaven, you're the first draft pick, that you have a lock. Really, this whole thing has been searching for a little bit of power.
I don't know about that. I always feel like I had the power. This is just it's like the frosting on the birthday cake right there. Just like the extra. Now I got your attention. Go do my bidding.
Yeah.
So.
Gotcha. Well, I'm still convinced of the power theory, but yeah. My reaction to the whole thing, I didn't watch the debate per se. Like I watched more of the highlights. I caught the last half hour of it where these two old men are challenging each other to golf. And it was pretty much exact. Like I texted a few people. I'm like, how's this shit show going? And everyone's reaction was, oh, it's awful. It's exactly what you think. Catching the highlights, it's exactly what I thought. It's egomaniac Trump just being Trump. There really was no difference in his demeanor than any other time you see him. And then really the loss came for Biden. I mean, he just looked 130 years old. You couldn't really hear him. He's stuttering, which we know like the stuttering thing. I think people, overdo it sometimes. Like it's like, the man has a stutter, like it's not, I don't think that's the end of the world, but him just like completely zoning out and not answering questions and flubbing things. I mean, we've been saying this for years. Anybody that this man is not fit to run the country. It was debatable the last time he was up for election if this was the right choice because he's so old.
Well, I don't know what's worse, the fact what he did at the debate or when he did that impromptu second session in front of people.
Yeah.
Where he's doubling down, like I am the candidate and talking about Vice President Trump and we're going to help out Putin.
Calling Zelensky Putin was the cherry on the top, man. Can you imagine all of Ukraine being like, oh my God,
Yeah.
Can
you imagine in the days, all right, we're bringing out the leader of Poland. Come out here, Hitler. Come on, let's go.
Now, I in the last election did not even vote. I think I've stated that before. I kind of.
Then you don't have a right to complain.
That's
Scott.
right. I get
that's the rule.
You don't get the right to complain. Well, yeah. I do not consider myself either side of this political thing. I never really have, but I've voted Democrat back in the past a couple times. I think the party is in shambles. I think, but then I think the whole Trump side is absolutely out of control. So then we advanced to what? 2 days ago? Yeah, 2 days ago.
Saturday.
Yeah, when we're recording this. And the unthinkable happens. Donald Trump is shot at.
Yep.
I'm sure
Shelley Duvall died. You're right. Scott.
The unthinkable
happened. No, Shining 2.
Richard Simmons passes away. You've talked about it with people. We talked about here where the climate's so insane that it wasn't unfathomable to think that someone would try to shoot one of these men. The way people are, the anger they have toward each other, the anger they have towards just in general in politics, it's been trending this way for a while, that something like this was going to happen. Now, 3 minutes don't go by without the conspiracy theories flying around. I think within 10 minutes that it was a setup, that this kid was a plant, that he has no social media following, that the Democrats did this, that the police and the FBI or the Secret Service let him up on the roof there. And it does cause a lot of thoughts. It is like, there are videos of people saying, hey, there's this kid on the roof. There's this guy on the roof. And no one's doing anything about it. Which is rather strange to me. The whole thing is bizarre. I don't know what your reaction is to this.
Yeah, that was my first thought. I mean, I can't stand the what I'm hearing from the right is, the Secret Service and Joe Biden's in charge and he needs to apologize. And so what you're saying is he's the most feeble. He has Alzheimer's. He has no capabilities of doing anything, but apparently every day he talks to the Secret Service on the plan for like protecting Donald Trump, apparently, in that setup right there. So that's kind of silly. But yeah, like when it happened, like I kind of laughed. Like I got just a generic news alert. Oh, the Secret Service had to grab Trump. Like nothing about something like, oh, I guess maybe somebody tried to jump stage, maybe something in the background or whatever. And then I go into a place, we were going to listen to a band, and then like all over the TVs, it's like, oh yeah, Bullet was 2 inches away from killing Trump. So that was interesting right there. Yeah. I mean, somebody should get fired, but I don't think anybody had a plan for this.
Yeah, I don't even know anymore because, like, the more and more I've detached myself from this, I can't believe anything anymore. And I think a lot of people feel that in the country, or just like as far as media goes, like nobody knows what to believe as far as anything. There's nothing you could physically, like, you read a story and you're like, well, I don't know, it could go either way, or maybe they're right, maybe they're right. But the fact that it's gotten to the point where this isn't surprising, like, it did not surprise me when my buddies were all texting me, oh my God, Trump got shot or shooting at the rally. And I'm like, my first reaction wasn't like, no way. My first reaction was like, oh, it finally happened. Not that I want it to happen, but the fact that to me, like, my gut reaction is just, this is so sad. Like, that we've gotten like, this is where all this hate and divisiveness and just, we don't care about anything, like any kind of like bipartisan work is out the window. If you even run Democrat, 50% of the country hates you. If you even run Republican, 50% of the country hates you. And there's no talking. There's no like, I kind of like that guy. Like, I disagree with him. It's just vitriol and like pure hate immediately. So I'm like, my gut reaction is like, this is sad, man. Now, if you're a Trump guy, this is only going to make you 100 times more the Trump guy, because now he's more badass to you. Not gonna lie, pretty badass. They almost get shot, stand up and be like, look at me, like, you didn't get me, and kind of root your crowd on. Like, it is pretty badass.
If you're a Democrat and you hate the Republicans, you can't deny that what he did was kind of badass, because literally, like, this Secret Service is like screaming, "Get down! We don't know if there's more shooters," and he's round up his crowd and all. Yeah. I mean, God bless him. I mean, even if you go back to Ronald Reagan, had one of the best reactions. Like when the guy tried to assassinate him and he lived, he was doing like a speech. I think it was like in Germany, and a balloon popped, and he was like in mid speech, and he's like, "Miss me." Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry, people. I mean, whatever you think about politically, that's like, bravo. That's bad. That's movie caliber.
Didn't George W. have like a shoe thrown at him or something? Somebody had a shoe thrown at them.
Yeah,
they like dodged it.
Bush.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, Trump's reaction was something straight out of like a WWE promo. Like Stone Cold would have done that back in the day. Like, you could see him like chugging beers, bleeding from his ear, like, you missed me, So all that happens with this now is the Trump people are more fired up than ever. Their God has shown godly ability of not getting killed. And then the right also is just going to say this is all a Democratic setup. And I think the left now comes out a little even more like, what the hell do we do now? This guy's just gonna I mean, I've said it for 4 years. Trump's gonna win, I think, in a landslide. It's too late. Who are they gonna, even if they get rid of Biden, who are they putting up that's going to inspire people to like get excited for November and change their vote? Everybody, I think people are just sick of the left. They've gone too far with too many things, and it's like, well, you're losing everybody. You're losing everybody at this point.
Yeah, they really screwed up with the trying to force things down people's throats. I mean, when it looked like everybody was voting for Bernie Sanders, and then they did the whole super delegate thing, and
just booted him out.
Clinton went in, and then like this time there wasn't even like, heaven forbid, it's like, why don't we have like a debate just to make sure? No, he's the guy. Throw him up there. He's going great. He's trash talking and saying like, I understand you're available on Wednesdays, Donald. Let's do a debate, blah, blah, blah. And he just got hammered. There's like nobody, you're like, oh, the up-and-comer Democrat. I mean, to be fair, I don't think there's an up-and-coming Republican either. Like everybody who sat back and is like, all right, he's out, Trump, I got this. When everybody's like, oh, DeSantis, slam dunk, getting the nomination, he just got his ass handed to him. Like, no doubt. He just went back in line. Both sides need help.
I think the one plus of this all, no matter how this election goes, is that at least at the end of this 4 years, we're done with both of these people. Like, we're done with Trump. We're done with, but at least after 4 years, this is all over. Okay?
You know what, Scott? I think he's going to reverse his Alzheimer's, Biden. Like when he's 86, it's like, whoa, Benjamin Button thing happened here. And
yeah, I think with the left, people are sick and tired of being told exactly this is who you're voting for. This is how you have to think. This is offensive. This is who you're getting. You're going to like it and shut up. These are the words you're allowed to say. Like, I think people are really getting sick of that fact. Like, everything coming from that side just seems very rigged. And like, here's how it's going to be, which leads people to go down their wormholes and they control everything and they're globalists and the communist. Like, then it becomes out of control. But I think they just keep shooting themselves in the foot by not giving anybody any choice. Like, say what you want about Bernie, but people were interested in Bernie. Bernie at least spoke. He had his own unique initiative and people got behind it. Whether you liked it or not, he at least had a unique voice. He wasn't towing the exact party line, the company line. He did have some radical ideas, of course, some that I was not for at all, but it was like, okay, well, this guy's at least passionate and wants to try something. Let him run. And I think with the right, they're getting their guy that nothing changes with him. So Trump is he's been the same for them, and they like that. Like they're not being told that all supporters love him. And they're getting another dose of him. So now a godlike dose of him after this weekend. So.
Yeah, and I just point back to all the media that just like they make up the rules when it looked like Kennedy was getting some momentum. It's like, I'll put me into the debate. Oh no, you're not high enough. Blah blah blah. I've always said for years that if they're gonna like the nominations have like the one in 2020, what was there like 20 some Republicans trying to be president when Trump first attempted to run. I'm sorry, you top 4 or 5, get into the debate.
Yeah, get him a voice on stage.
Like, let's hear it and all. I mean, why everybody's like, well, it's a 2-party system. It doesn't have to be. You're just both all media is scared of, but then this will come up and will take votes from my team and then the other team will win. It's just
in some ways, Trump almost like broke the 2-party system for a split second there because he was not like the Republicans' boy at first. Like he kind of signed on the ticket, but he was always kind of like an independent. When he was younger, he was a Democrat. Like he kind of was independent for a little while. And then they're like, well, people fell in love with him. Let's take him. And now he's a force that unfortunately can't seem to be stopped. But say what you want about him, he is doing one thing that people like, and that's like kind of going against the establishment, where the left just never wants to go against anything, and people are starting to become extremely fed up with that. And I don't know who would have benefited the most if RFK was at least on that stage. I think he would have got all sorts of eyes on him because the two of them are such lunatics that he almost looks normal, I
mean, it's pretty sad when the brainworm guy is possibly the best pick right there, but I mean, it's possible. I mean, he's got some stuff I'm not huge on, but at least it would have open up the conversation, which is impossible nowadays.
Yes, open some kind of lane for people. Honestly, for people like me who have abandoned both parties completely. I have nothing. I have no dog in the race. I actually think it's like atrocious what's going on. Like, I more than likely will not be voting again for the second. I might go vote on like the local stuff and like the other things, but I might not vote for either man yet again, which is kind of sad to me. You know, you only get to vote in so many of these in a lifetime, and when you're just disgusted completely, it's like, why am I going to give either one of these men my support?
I think it's basically, as you put it, it's going to be a landslide. Like, Trump was leaning that direction there. Saturday just kind of cemented it. I mean, it's as we talk about, people get excited for him. He has a core excited group for him. People are not excited about the Democrats, and you don't have that relief pitcher that can come in and save the game for you.
Yeah,
I'm not thrilled by it, but
Barack is not sitting there able to run again. Like, that's the only guy I think that could like excite people on that side again. Like, he can't. You know, who else is left? You're gonna run Gavin Newsom out there. That guy's a creep. You know, everyone's like, Michelle Obama. What the hell does she want to step in and do this for? Like, I don't know. Yeah, why would anybody want to step into this at this point?
No.
You know?
She does her book tour. She does all that. Why are you going through the headache of all that? I mean, it was documented she didn't want him to go for presidency. So why is she going to double down? It's like, well, let me make this my headache.
Yeah, and just the racist, sexist vitriol she's going to go through, that she already goes. The comments people have about her are just disgusting. But that's a whole other point. But yeah, I don't know. It's severely depressing, and it is interesting what's going to happen, because now the talk is all Trump again. No one's even talking about Biden's cognitive things the last couple of days, because now it's like, well, it's all about Trump and this avoidance of getting shot somehow. So it's like, I don't know.
Maybe they should do what like Trump always says he's doing. They're doping him up. They're putting him on cocaine and all. Put a cocained Joe Biden up on the debate stage, and let's hit the Hail Mary, if you will.
It can't go any worse. Like, just coke him up, do something crazy, shave his head, give him do something weird.
Yeah.
You know,
my vice president's my son. He ain't going anywhere.
And then no one loves the vice president either. So I don't know. The whole thing is pretty terrible. But let's lighten the mood a little bit.
And Barbara Jo Waymeyer is dead, so we can't vote for her.
Vermin Supreme looks more and more sane every day that these things go on. He was once a parody. I don't think he might not be anymore. But let's speaking of guests, go check out Vermin Supreme. He's hilarious. But anyway, our guest today comes from the recommendation of a very good friend of the show, Howard Berger. This man, he's done so much in the world of film and also music with his band, but he is a world-renowned makeup artist. He's an actor. He's been in the horror world. He's done stuff for K&B Effects. He's kind of another guy that, if you look up his resume, it's just endless amounts of puppetry and makeup work, and really interesting guy. So without further ado, I would like to get Dirk Rogers on the line.
Hey.
What is up, Dirk? How are you?
Hey.
Good. How are you guys?
We are doing great. Can you hear us okay? Everything sound good?
Everything sounds good, yeah. Let me turn my audio up a little bit.
Dirk, believe it or not, we're almost 500 episodes in, and you're only the second Dirk to be on the podcast.
We're a rare breed
for you? You know,
absolutely. You know, we Dirks have to stick together. We don't like to be seen in the same place. You know,
yeah. It's one of those, if an accident happens and we lose all the Dirks in the world, we can't have that.
Exactly. Some of us just go by Derek. It's easier, you know, keeps us, more incognito.
So, Dirk, first off, thanks for giving us a few minutes here on the show. Really appreciate your time. Howard recommended us to you quite a while back, actually, and then we had him on again, and he kind of, I reminded me to reach out to you. You have a very interesting background, because it seems like you have done just about a little bit of everything when it comes in the art world. I'm just curious, like, if someone was to ask you like what your primary focus is, what is it?
Makeup effects.
Makeup effects. Okay.
Yeah, that was my first love. When I was like 3 years old, Godzilla vs. Ghidorah, or actually I think it was just Ghidorah, released, and I was so impressed with it that I did a report and took it to my preschool and tried to explain the whole thing to them. And then later on, preschool, yeah,
Wow.
1974.
One, I have a son who's in preschool, and he cannot do reports. Never mind explain anything he's into right now. So that's impressive on its own.
Well, I still have my mom sent it recently to me because she's, gets to that age and she's like, okay, all the things I held on for you, now they're yours, throw away or do whatever you want with them. But I was going through it and I found the box, and it basically, I drew out different sections of the movie. She sat in on the dissertation, I guess, and and then she wrote down everything I said at the bottom of the caption and then sent it to me. So yeah, it was, I guess it was more of just a presentation than it was a report, but it changed my life. It made me, the first thing I ever wanted to do was paleontology, and just loved dinosaurs as I was growing up. And Godzilla and Ghidorah and all them, the kaiju, they put personalities to the dinosaurs, and they were good, they were evil, they weren't just creatures. That got me deep into the monster world. I got a book by a guy named Thomas Aylesworth at my library, and in it had photos of Bela Lugosi doing his own makeup from Dracula, and it had Jack Pierce doing all the different Universal monsters. And that was the first time I realized that I could be a monster maker. And from then on, it was the only thing I ever wanted to do. So I would say it was my first love, which
That's
later,
amazing.
of course, I'm sorry. Also, then that later transferred into getting to wear the suits, because tall, skinny, bit of alopecia, easy to glue stuff on. No claustrophobia, which is a kind of a requirement.
Nope.
I mean, that's something, you do that in preschool, and Scott's kid said he was 100 years old. So there's a little imbalance there.
My son did say I was 100 years old for his little Father's Day survey. So I think I look pretty good for 100. So.
I think he was alluding to the wisdom that you bring.
Well, he didn't put a minus. He would have to put a minus sign in front of that 100 for that to count. But so what, when you're like researching this or whatever, was there like a clear path you knew of how to like start to get into the industry? Like, were you like doing like plays and doing makeup there? Is there like a straightforward, there's a program where you can get into that? Where do you move forward with your love?
I did not know how to get into it. And when the end of high school was coming up, my parents said, okay, the luggage time is coming soon and you're going to be out. What are you going to do? And I said, I still want to do makeup effects. My father at the time was working was a construction worker, and he was building a lot of the rides at the Universal Studios in Los Angeles. So I would go with him a lot to the set or to the back lot, and I would run around like a maniac, and the security would bring me back to him and all, saying, we don't need another Phantom for the ride. Thank you. We don't need another Hunchback. Please keep your son in line. And he would always be like, good job, kid. Good job. Don't get caught next time. But he got me a job when I turned 17 because we couldn't figure out how there was no schools really, not as prevalent as they are today. There's no Face Off or anything like that. There was one school. We couldn't afford it. And so I took a couple of classes, mask making classes, but they were all like tribal masks. They weren't like monster masks.
Yeah.
I ended up getting a job at Universal Studios, just so that I could be surrounded by, the movie industry. Still couldn't figure it out, couldn't meet anyone. So I started driving around to all the makeup supply houses that were near me. And I started getting jobs there because I knew the makeup artists would come in there at some point, and I could, graft myself onto them and say, could I get in somehow? Let's say I graduated in 87. So I would say by 89 or 90, I had started to meet other young effects artists who were kind of doing the same thing I was, working in makeup supply houses. We all kind of started, when someone would get a job, we'd call each other, to back us up or to ask questions and whatnot. And then through the 90s, I mostly did music videos. It was a good time. Well, the thing about music videos, they usually come to you and it's a concept to creation in like 3 days. Hey, we want this monster. We shoot in 2 days. Okay. So then this was before the advent of Red Bull. So we just get all coffeed out, stay up for 3 days and then take it to set, and work 15, 16 hours on it. But, you're in your early 20s and you don't feel the pain. And then at the end of that, you die for a couple of days and then you get up and then word starts to spread. A lot of the same directors that get a hold of you or someone that was doing another music video or even someone in the band who was doing another video or with another band. So it was kind of word of mouth. I didn't get into an actual shop until probably 96. And then I started kind of being a part of that communal effort, and learning a lot more because, that's where you meet people that only make molds, people that only paint, people that only make teeth, and they all have their little ways. And you start to kind of, suck up all of their energy. And again, those people, when those jobs end, a lot of those people go off into other shops. Hey, I know a guy who can do fiberglass. Hey, I know a guy who can do eyes. And then that's how I kind of started falling into it. And then I, as you said earlier, I'm kind of a jack of all trades. And that was pretty much how I wanted to be. I don't want to be a master of one thing because it kind of pigeonholes you in a place. When I was at KMB, I was there for about 20 years. And they did kind of put me into a corner where I was just doing a lot of the pouring of materials, coming up with gags, how are we going to get this guy's arm to bleed when we cut it off? Making a lot of the bodies, doing a lot of the casting and things like that. And then at one point I was kind of getting a little burned out in the shop because I had been doing it for, over a decade there. And I went to Howard and said, hey, I used to do some suit work for a guy named Screaming Mad George back in the late 90s, because I was the skinny kid who loved Godzilla. And, he was a Japanese artist who always made fun of Godzilla. That's what we liked as little kids, like you're an adult. Like I was like, I still love it. It makes me feel like a little kid. And Howard was like, we've got a movie coming up called Nightmare Cinema with Mick Garris, and I'll put you in if you want to try it. And I did it. I loved it. What monster kid doesn't dream about playing monsters his whole life, torturing your siblings and whatnot. And the other local.
That was a question I had for you that you're kind of leading to, like where it goes from, okay, I'm really learning this makeup game, or were you always outside of, like, was that ever a thought, like I could be the actual monster, I can get in the costume? Or was it like, okay, did it take you getting sick of what you were talking about to like step outside and be like, okay, I can be the guy? Or was that always the goal back in the back of your head?
It was never really the goal. When I first did it with Scream Mad George, it was more of, hey, you're the skinny tall guy, you're gonna fit in this, you're in this. And then I did a few videos for him and a couple of movies in the suits that he made. And then I really didn't think about it too much. And working at KMB, everything they're doing is union. It's much more high end.
Right.
And I wasn't SAG at that point, so I never even really considered it until Howard said, hey, I've got this gig for you. And then I got tafted. I got put into SAG because of that first film. And then immediately after that, he was like, okay, you did great. Like the director, the producer, everyone is singing your praises. You're easy to get along with, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, great. That I always wanted, every suit actor has, like Doug Jones, his thing is his hands. His signature move is his hands. And there's other actors who, their signature move is something they do with their body. I always wanted to not have a signature move other than that I was really easy to work with, because I don't want to call attention to myself. I want to call attention to the creature. And I love body language. And I think that just it transferred into Howard saying, hey, we're going to put you in Orville. And then I played like, I don't know, like 15 or 20 different aliens over the 3 seasons that KMB did it.
Yeah, I saw some of the pictures of the get-ups you were in, and it's like, oh my God. Like, we'll get into that in a minute, but I just can't. I'm tall, but I don't think I'm the guy for these prosthetics. Like the claustrophobia you were talking about, and the patience probably to become this character has to be, has to take a certain prototypical person to really master this.
Claustrophobia is a huge thing. If you got any kind of issue with that, you can't do it. Just from the life casting, to having people putting contact lenses into your eyes the whole time, being glued into stuff. People don't like that.
Yeah.
And then once you're in, sometimes, there's mechanics in there that are whirling and all that around you, and it can get to you. I have had a couple of moments where I'm just like, okay, go to my special place, like Fight Club, just go where the penguin is.
Right.
I was looking over the resume. I mean, whatever show, tons of shows, tons of movies. Mm-hmm. But as a Breaking Bad fan, I got to ask you, I saw the one credit and it said Face Off. And that's one of my favorite things. Did you do the Gustavo half face there? Or were you involved with that?
Well, I again, part of the team, the art is communal. So it was a bunch of us. I ran the silicone for the head that they ended up digitizing onto Giancarlo's face. So when he comes out and does the, I did that half face. All right, it was a full head, a full bust with the stuff missing.
Bravo,
bravo, my good sir.
But again, teamwork. Someone else did the painting. Someone else.
No, all
did
you,
the
Dirk.
seaming.
No, Dirk.
You heard it here,
fine.
guys. You guys heard it right here. Dirk's taking credit.
Dirk went in and said, "Get out of my room. I got this." Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it is funny because I did want to ask you, like, we can go into like project after project, and we'll mention a few of them. But when you start to accumulate like a resume like yours, where it's been involved with monsters and makeup and effects and being the monster and whatnot, does there become a point where like you almost forget some of the stuff you've been involved in? Like it's been so long, like you said, you've been 20 years, like. Do you see things and go, oh my God, like I don't even remember doing that or being part of that team?
Yes, absolutely. Which is a really wonderful place to be in. It's very humbling to be given so much opportunity that you tend to forget some of the things. When you're young and hungry, every single credit, it could be a student film and you're like, I did this, I did that.
Right.
And then to get to a point where you turn on the TV and you're like watching like Fallout, the TV series. I had forgotten that I had built a bunch of those bodies for KMB. And I was like watching it and I was like, oh, that's cool. And then at the end, one of the credits came up with KMB and I was, oh my God, I remember that now. And there's been a couple of those. And it's a wonderful place to be in, to be able to have that experience. It's where you can forget that you've worked on such cool stuff. Yeah, I'm trying to remember it all because I'm always trying to inflate my, always looking for the next job.
Sure.
And, it always helps to have something recent.
Because I remember us talking to Howard on the last, we've had him on twice on the show. And I remember him saying like, it's just been in this world for so long that like, someone will call him up and be like, saw your name in the credits. And he's like, I have no recollection. And then actually have to like recall some of it and like see what the project was. And then there was projects that like he just touched a little bit. And then there was projects that he was so deep in. And then even then he still kind of forgot, like after you do it for so long. So it is pretty fascinating. Like, because like as interviewers, we're always looking for like questions and, things like that. But you guys, it is also your job. And I think that's what people forget. Like, at the end of the day, it is what you're working on all the time. So you probably do get lost in it occasionally.
And with a shop like KMB, because they're one of the oldest shops, a lot of the smaller shops will take on a project and it'll be the one thing they work on for 5 or 6 months. Right. KMB is almost always doing, between Greg and Howard, you've got 3 to 4 TV shows. You've got at least a couple of movies coming in, which, like you said, sometimes they just touch it a little bit and they only want one gag. Other times it's a whole bunch of stuff. So when you're filling out your time card at the end of the week, they want you to put down everything you've worked on. And sometimes there's like 7 or 8 things. And like you said, if sometimes you're just touching it for 1 week, there's so many other things that you're absorbed in because you've got, on one table, you're doing something for Interview with the Vampire, and another table, you're doing something for Let the Right One In. Then there's all the Walking Deads, Mayfair Witch, and all that's going on at the exact same time with all the exact same due date. And so it is very easy to let the credits slip through the cracks.
You talk about being a jack of all trades. I mean, just going by again in IMDb, you see a lab tech for the Spider-Man video game. I'm seeing a puppeteer for Bird Box. I mean, how does it?
I was the creature in Bird Box. They ended up cutting it out. Puppeteer. They made me up as this giant white baby face, and they were going to graft it onto this big digital creature. And they ended up going, you know what? It's like Jaws. It's scarier when you don't see it. Imagination is so much more powerful.
I've been in makeup for 8 hours. Wait a minute.
Yeah. And I mean, I got to be on set and act with both Sandra Bullock and John Malkovich, who was Sandra Bullock was fine. I had to like go up under her and grab her arms and pull because she was hiding her face to not see me. And I go up and I open her arms and go, "Ugh." and I thought I've always liked her and I didn't want to like hurt her. And I went to open her hands and she was like, "No." And I was like, "Oh man, this chick is strong." And I was like fighting, like, get it open. And John Malkovich, he just walked around the set the entire time in overalls and a giant shotgun and just whistled, never spoke to anybody. The director would say, "Hey, John, we're ready." And he would just go. And at one point, he just turned and looked at me deadpan and just kind of gave me the uh-huh. And I went, uh-huh. And I just kind of looked away like, holy shit, that was scary.
Ironically, that's what Mike's done on the podcast for the last 10 years. Just overalls and a shotgun.
Mostly whistles. This is the first time I talked, I let my overalls are in the wash. So that's why
I hear you.
But
go ahead, Mike.
But I was kind of going back to what I was saying. How does these projects come? Are you is there like some database you're looking in? Like, oh, I can do that. Is it something like they announce, hey, can somebody figure this out? Where does that fall? Where this project comes to you?
If I'm working in a shop, then usually they'll just walk into the back where I would be working. Like if I was a K&B, they come in the back. I go, "Hey, we're doing the new Tarantino film, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. We have to have this dog at the end of the film is going to attack all these people. We need to figure out how this dog can rip apart these silicone heads without hurting itself, and it can blood and be resettable. Figure it out." And so then I would start doing tests and all that. And the latest thing I just did was a TV show called Dark Winds, which was for a guy named Joe Harlow. And that was a sculptor that I had worked with said, "Hey, I know a guy who does suit work," to Joel. Joel said, "All right, bring him in." We hit it off really good and he stuck me in the suit. And then I just got back from New Mexico for the last 2 months doing this Dark Winds show. So a lot of it is word of mouth. It's people that you work with moving forward saying, "Hey, I know a guy that could do this," or it's someone from production that has worked with you prior and goes, "I know a guy that could do this," or "I know a guy that could wear this."
Is that ever lost on you? Like most people are like, "We need this Excel spreadsheet in by Thursday," and someone's coming in and asking you to make a canine rip somebody's head off with lots of blood and not hurting. Like, is it ever lost on you how unique and kind of cool your job is?
It's never lost on me.
Yeah.
No, the 5-year-old in me still jumps up and down every time, that there's something fun to do like that. The old saying of be careful if you do what you love because you won't love what you do. That, the rigmarole of days in, days out, chemicals and all that can be tough, but in the end, it's a magic job. I absolutely love it. It's my first love. It's never gone away. It's only gotten bigger. And being able to play creatures, it just expanded that love. So, yeah,
I wanted to ask you. We've talked to Howard, we've talked to you, we've talked to a lot of people in the acting space and creative space, and it always seems to come back to the Universal Monsters is this inspiration for so many people, comic book writers, podcasters, effects guys. What is it about that genre or that run of the Universal Monsters that inspires you and inspires people so much?
Speaking for myself, and I would say a lot of effects artists, a lot of people that, I mean, I think monsters are a little bit more accepted these days, but I'd say back in the 70s and 80s, where, wearing a monster shirt to school could, get you beat up in the halls or whatever, or made fun of. A lot of monster fans were outsiders and loners and comic book fans, and a lot of the monsters, with the exception, I'd say, maybe of the Invisible Man, most of those monsters were sympathetic, and it's very easy to see yourself in those creatures. Frankenstein, Creature from Black Lagoon, things like that. Yeah, I would say there's a bit of an emotional investment with them and their journey when you're a kid. And it was the same for me with all the kaiju, all the Godzilla and the Toho films. I never saw the Japanese version of the first Godzilla until much older, just because it wasn't available. But all the subsequent Godzilla films, he became this personality that was always on the side of good. And no matter what, even if he was attacked by the people he was trying to defend, he always tried to do the right thing. And I'd say that for me, those qualities endeared themselves to me. But mostly I would say it's just the loner factor, being alone, seeing a monster alone, connecting with that. Plus, they were just really cool. They're, all black and white. And they had such emotion
I feel like
and
the
impact.
monster community is very much like the punk rock community of filmmaking. Like it's just very
Agreed.
together, very like everyone helps each other out kind of community. And it's funny because I hear it we talk to so many like musicians and stuff like that. And it reminds you guys have very similar paradoxes when you guys talk, like what made you feel connected to it,
Yeah. I mean, I've been in a punk rock band for the last 35 years.
I was
so
gonna get to that. Yep.
I certainly can see a similarity. There's, you don't really find any romantic comedy conventions, but there's tons of horror conventions because
Right.
we all, gel together. And I would say the same is true with a lot of the punk rock. There's not a lot of punk rock conventions, but there's a lot of those old bands that come together and play big festivals, and you go there and there's like a couple thousand weirdos. Everyone's unique altogether, but I would say it's very similar, and you do see a lot of horror iconography within the punk rock community.
Sure.
So yeah, I would say it's, again, though, punk rock is maybe not so much of what it is today, where you can, it's a spirit Halloween costume basically for your kid, but back when it was something that you had to earn by, getting stuff thrown at you from a pickup truck full of jocks or whatever. It was that outsider mentality that kind of it just makes it so endearing.
Yeah,
and unique.
We had Jack Grisham on from TSOL a couple.
Oh, nice.
It's like some of the things you're saying are like, just insert Jack's voice into the very similar, thread between you guys. It's pretty interesting to hear. So
awesome. Awesome. I love TSOL, so that's great.
He was great, by the way. Fantastic storyteller.
That was a good interview.
I'll check that one out.
Yep.
Can you tell us a little bit about Dirk's Terror Tavern now, curiosity?
Dirk's Terror Tavern was, I did a Halloween party for 25 years, and I would start in June building it, and it was this insane thing that hundreds of people would come to from all over the world, much like a punk rock show, a lot of misfits and all of that. At one point, the guy that was supplying my beer was like, okay, I got to see what this is all about. And so he showed up with the kegs of beer that I would order from him, and I would have bartenders that would dress as like every year, like the Shining Twins one year. Jason and Gandhi another year. Like it was always just, and then there would be like stripper poles on coffins. There would be, it was hedonism and debauchery at its finest. So the guy who was brewing the beer and bringing it to me walked in and he was like, "Holy crap, have you thought about making this into a bar?" And I was like, "Actually, I have." And I was thinking about ending it on the 25th year because it's just becoming so much of a hassle. And he goes, "Okay, well, I have 13 different bars and one of them's failing and I would love for you to come in, redecorate it, and we'll run it together." And I had been wanting to do a bar because I wanted a place where a lot of the people that get the credit in the movies are always the people with the names on the door, even though there's a group of like 30 people that are actually building it. And I wanted a place where all of the techs and all the lab guys and women could all go and just commiserate together and watch horror movies and do all these different things. And he said, do it. So I contacted, and it was also a brewery, this bar that he wanted me to go in on. So I went in with a few friends of mine, and we just revamped the hell out of this place. I built a stage so that we could do podcasting. I was going to get like Mick Garris and Joe Dante to come in and interview people, and then do like intimate dinners where they don't need a microphone. You can hear them that close. I hit up every shop that was near me to say, if you want to display anything, I'll give you free beer tickets for a month, and promote your shop. I hit up everyone that does any kind of dark art, painting, sculpture wise, and said, I'll hang all your work above the stage at the end and I'll put a price tag off if you want to sell it. Each table, one table was Nicotero was like, "Come with me into my special area." And he said, "What do you want?" And I said, "I want a copy of the original Xenomorph bodysuit that you have to display." He goes, "Okay, well, you're going to need some alien eggs with that." Okay. And then, so I had this corner that was all alien eggs.
Of course. Yeah.
Next to that, we had built for Greg a life-size version of the back of the Orca, which had, Brody and everyone standing there looking off. And he goes, "Take it. It's just collecting dust." So we had that. Next to that, I had worked for Screaming Mad George for a few years, and he actually gave me the flying eye from Big Trouble in Little China, which is right there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because he basically moved back. This was before the internet and all that, so he didn't realize what he had. So he ended up giving it to me when he went back to Japan. He's like, "I don't want to carry this back with me to Japan." So he gave me that, and he gave me the sewer creature that comes out at the end and grabs the guy and eats him and goes back in. What will come out? It won't come out again. That big ass creature.
Yep.
That was next to that. And then all the tables, I had took all my old VHS covers and put them under glass. One table was, again, through Greg. He gave me a bunch of his Haunted Mansion stuff, molds that I could run. So this whole table was all Haunted Mansion with all the accoutrement over it. The next table was Kaiju and Ultraman, and I had all the toys and different things for that. Next to that was a table that was only for the lab techs. So anybody that I had worked with that was just a lab tech that never got any kind of recognition, I put their pictures on the table. And then a lot of the old Fangoria posters. There was another table that was like Dawn of the Dead. And again, Greg gave me a life-size copy of the airport zombie, the airport zombie, the guy who's the cover of Dawn of the Dead, the bald guy with the face. We had in the corner, we had a DJ booth set up, and we were just going to be playing records of scores. I had talked to like Richard Band and to have him come in and try to sell, play his record as well as sell them, stuff from Reanimator and things like that. We had drinks that were, one was called the Black Lagoon, and it had activated charcoal in it. We had a lot of our mixed drinks were named after Black Mirror episodes. We had the American Werewolf Old Fashioned. We did food that was the Halal Razor. So it was halal food, but it was Hellraiser. We did a Halloween pizza that, again, we used black charcoal and made a pentagram on it. And then I went in and sculpted a little face of a screaming man and basically turned it into a Freddy pizza.
Nightmare on Elm Street 4.
Yep, exactly.
Talking my language. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, don't
so
shake your head like that.
That's
we
so
had a
cool.
screaming pizza soul face. And we had all this stuff ready to go. And we were going to open in 2020 on April 1st, which was Long Chaney's birthday, Long Chaney Sr.'s birthday. And 4 days before we were to open, LA County did the COVID shutdown.
Oh, no.
And so instead of it being Long Chaney's, it turned out to be April's Fools on me. We never had any indoor seating because of the shutdown. We ended up getting an al fresco license for the front sidewalk, and we could have 6 four-tops out there. We couldn't hit our numbers because of that. They would allow us the first month to come in and order food, but it was that 6 feet apart, so you could only have like 3 people in there at once. And then everyone got mad at us because you couldn't sit inside, because it was like having a museum that you had to sit in the parking lot. So then we brainstormed, and we kept waiting for the indoor seating ban to drop so that we could open and hit our numbers. So we took the employees in parking lot in the back, we turned that into a haunted tiki bar, and I had my chef dress up as Leatherface, and we started doing Texas Chainsaw barbecues where he would cut up all the meat dressed as Leatherface, and then at the end of it he would have a flaming pumpkin and cut it up with a pineapple, and then we had like Bill Moseley, and we had all these people start showing up in costumes all the time. And the whole time we're showing Texas Chainsaws, and I just brought in a bunch of DVDs. So it was like one night it would be like House of Frankenstein, and then right after that would be The Deadly Spawn. And then after that would be, Demons. And then Joe Briggs started his thing. And so we had this whole thing about, Joe Bob Says Check It Out, and we had a big Texas flag going with some bodies around it. And again, we only could have, the tables had to be 6 feet apart. We can only have 4 people at a table if they all came together. We lasted from April 1st until November 1st, and we did a Halloween big final night Halloween. There's a horror bookstore here called Dark Delicacies in Los Angeles that's been around for 30 years, and I've been friends with. They're kind of the community that a lot of people, you can go in there and run into Dante or Mick Garris, any of those people, and they're all very, very talkative, very friendly, but they always have those kind of people in there. And so it's kind of this communal place to go. And so I wanted to celebrate them. And so on Halloween night, we did a special, guest of honor with Del and Sue, the 2 owners of the bookstore. And we had our Texas Chainsaw guy out there, in full Leatherface gear. We lasted until November 1st, and that was it. And then we closed down.
Oh, man.
And I went into debt about $60,000. And
it's because as you're talking, I'm like, as a guy like you, that sounds like a dream come true, other than the business part of it. Like, going as big as possible, doing fun events, like other than the making money part, that sounds like a dream, like to just go as weird as you want or as unique as you want, or
I really just wanted a place. I didn't want to do it in Hollywood because I'm not the biggest fan of Hollywood. I wanted to do it in where I live in the San Fernando Valley because that's where all the shops are. And, Universal Studios is here, Burbank Studio or Warner Brothers is here. And I just wanted to celebrate horror fans, sci-fi fans, dark art fans, nerds, outsiders. Like, I just wanted to have a place where we could all go and sit and congregate together. And I mean, the bar, I had gremlins hanging from the ceiling. If you go to Dirk's Terror Tavern on Instagram, there's a bunch of photos there, and that
would have been a great documentary too. Just like the bar that never opened, like fully, just all
we were voted
work that went into that.
We were voted 2021 the best bar you never saw in Los Angeles.
It's weird. It's like
the worst and best award to get.
Yeah,
I know. I know.
There's like so much love in what you told me. In a way, I want to beg you, do it again. But at the same time, after you listen to everything, I'm like, that's exhausting. I don't blame you for stopping.
I want to do it again. My issue with it, well, I have a couple of things I would address. Is I don't think I would do the food again because the food was a big hassle. There's so much red tape jumping through all these hoops.
Yep.
You get a guy coming in there that's, doing your health inspection and he's not a fan of horror, and it doesn't matter how clean it is, he's going to give you a bad grade. And that happened to us. And then the previous month we had gotten a great grade because the guy came in and was like, oh man, I want to bring my kids here. And like the LAPD came in at one point because I had a friend that was in Vice, and he was like, I heard you're opening a bar, I want to see it. And he brought like 10 of his cop buddies in, and they all lost their minds. Like I had two of my friends had built, there was a foosball table in there. And I was like, okay, my partner was like, we'll get rid of that. And I was like, no. I got some friends. Half of this is going to be Jason. Half of this is going to be Freddy. It's going to be the Freddy versus Jason foosball table. And they went in, they sculpted Jason's and Freddy's, painted it up all nice. We had a severed head that we put inside of a clear ball for the ball. I still have it sitting out there. So I
agree with Mike when he's like, you got to do this again. At first I was like, you can't do this again. You got to do this again. It's too good.
I've been trying the last couple of years. Once the writer strike happened last year, I really started going, okay, the whole landscape is changing for effects. Digital is starting to come in and encroach on lab work. They're not doing live casts anymore. Now they're just doing digital scans. They're not doing sculptures anymore. They're doing digital mock-ups.
Right.
So I was like, okay, well, maybe it's time to bring the bar back. So I started looking into it, and the issue is, I can't find anywhere in Los Angeles that I can afford. Everyone wants to do a minimum of a 10-year lease. The rent is like minimum $12,000 a month. I wanted to ditch the food and just court food trucks. That way I could have a revolving menu.
Exactly.
And
brewery style.
I just haven't found anywhere that I can do it. I've everywhere I've looked at, I had one guy that reached out to me and was like, I have this place called the Witch's Brew. We do punk gigs here. We would love to have your stuff come in here. And I went and looked at it, and I was like, it's too small. Because I can't have people touching a lot. Like if I put the flying eye up, there would have to be a space where people couldn't touch it, because otherwise it wouldn't survive. Because punk gigs, can be a little, touchy-feely.
I can't believe that's a
full contact love.
I also can't believe that's the flying eye behind you. It's kind of
Yeah.
Every time you move your head, I'm like, oh wow, now I remember that.
Yeah. Here, I'll get closer.
Oh my god,
That's amazing.
That's so crazy. Yeah,
I feel like a kid right now. This is amazing.
Yep.
Yeah, it's really freaking cool. That's one of my favorite movies by John Carpenter, and the fact that I got that is, and I've had so many people being like, I'll give you $4,000, I'll give you $5,000, and it's like, it's not for sale.
I almost feel like we got a little bit of it just from from interviewing. We got to see it.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
I wanted to talk to you about the punk band. You've been in a band for 30 years, right? Badass. 35 years.
Yeah.
So were you, along with your obvious artistic ability with the makeup and everything, were you always a musician or always into music? Or
no.
How did this find you?
I've always been into punk rock, grindcore, metal, and all that. I grew up as a Hesher in the 80s, where it was a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
But at one point, my friend had gotten a guitar in '89. And he was like, we're going to form a band and you're going to sing. And I was like, I'm unhindered by talent. I don't have any musical capability. He goes, listen to the music we're playing. Neither do they. All they do is scream. He said, you can do that. You already do monster voices. And I was like, okay, I can do that. And it just never ended. The band, at this point, I'm the only original member left. And we just kept putting out 7 inches, putting out tapes, and then later on CDs. We got signed to Sony because we had come up with a band called System of a Down. And when they got signed, they were like, we're going to take you guys on tour, man. We love you guys. And we were like, oh, okay, great. Sure, whatever. And then they started taking us on tour with them. And in like 2003 to like 2006, we were touring with them on like Ozfest and all that, and still playing our horrible grindcore music, but like now in front of thousands of people.
Oh yeah.
And then once that kind of ended, a few of the members that were in the band at that point, nothing can kill a band like success, and not just the success, but post success, where you go back to playing in front of 2 or 3 people, 5 people. But for me, I always, as I said earlier, I grew up a bit of a loner. I had a couple of friends here and there, but I was always kind of the outside kid, never quite fitting in. And when I had a band, I had a family, and my friends were my family, and the scene was my family. As we were talking earlier, the similarities between the horror genre and the punk genre. And I felt like I finally fit in. And I also realized that I had a lot to say. I just didn't have a lot of time to say it, so I have to say it really, really fast. So, yeah, and then it's been going on ever since. Ever since '89, and will continue probably until the scar tissue builds up too much into my throat, and then that'll be it.
Dirk, I want to thank you for your time tonight. I love this is the perfect interview for our cast, because we love like true artists or people who are unique or into something, or just follow their dream or do something unique, and you check all those boxes. So I want to thank you for your time tonight. What are you working on? If people want to check you out, they want to check the band out, or what can we look forward to?
Let's see, band wise, the next thing we're doing a metal fest in Los Angeles on July 20th. We are the headlining band is a band called Ex Mortis. We're the main support, and then there's like 9 or 10 bands under us. You could go to Bad Acid Trip, I guess Instagram probably, or Facebook, and find the flyer there. Suit work. The last thing I did was the very first interview, or I'm sorry, the first episode of Interview with a Vampire, season 2.
Awesome.
I'm the Revenant in it, so I'm the big wrinkly vampire that gets his eyes ripped out. Spoilers. And his head bashed in with a rock. The thing I just wrapped last Sunday, I was in New Mexico for the last 2 months working on a TV show called Dark Winds that is through AMC. Really, it's the 3rd season, and I can't really say what I play, but as you know, I play monsters, so you can kind of figure out what it's going to be. The first 2 seasons, it's a cop drama that takes place on the reservation, the Dene or Navajo reservation in the 1970s. And there's a little bit of mysticism in each season. This is the first season where they're going to lean into a boogity, so to speak. So cool. that would be the next thing.
Awesome.
I guess that's it.
Final question for me,
Yes.
Being a huge Nightmare on Elm Street fan, by any chance, did you get to work with Robert Englund when you were the lab zombie in Zombie Strippers?
Oh, no, I didn't. We didn't share any scenes, but I did meet him a couple of times because Robert Kurtzman, who used to be the K in K&B, hired me to do some stuff for some promotional material for him for the Bye Bye Man. And he dressed me up as the creature, the Doug Jones creature. And then Robert came by to say hi to him and was like, hey, kid, welcome to the business. Yeah. Since you are okay, here's another. Let me fly back over here.
Uh-oh, Mike.
Okay. If you can see that is Freddy Krueger's glove from where the dog pees fire in the junkyard, and the hand, and then he comes together and puts his hand up and the claws shoot out the end of it. And if you can see right behind it, hopefully that's the skull of Freddy Krueger that all comes together, all the bones.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So there you go.
Final question. What's your address? I'll be over in an hour.
Come on by. We'll watch a couple movies, have some beers.
Yes.
We'll talk nerd talk.
Dirk, Thank you so much, man. This was fantastic. And please let us know when you got stuff coming up. We'd love to have you come on again and talk more monsters, talk more effects, talk more music, and whatever else comes up. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you. I greatly appreciate you guys reaching out.
Thank you. Peace. Dirk Rogers, Michael. Dirk Rogers. There's another guy that is like, you just scratch the surface when you start to talk about the things he's done. It's like, oh yeah, well I did this, and oh yeah, look what's behind me. This is a prop from here, and oh yeah, like it's just, these guys are cool, man.
Yeah, he's one of those, like, you go grocery shopping, and you're like, oh, look at these cantaloupes, and he probably has like a 40-minute story on something he did in his life of cantaloupe. So
I wish that that horror cafe was open. That thing sounded fantastic, but
go there in a heartbeat if I could. Yeah. That was beautiful, man.
Yeah.
Damn COVID.
Super cool guest. Mike, what do you got?
Hey, Scott, let me ask you, when you get dressed for work and all,
whoa, controversial. Here we go. Whoa.
Yeah. I mean, you know, we went to politics, and now I'm going to step above right here, clothing.
Okay. All right. I'm in.
But when you get ready for work, like, do you have a planned clothing, what you're going to wear the next day, or you just one of those grab and go kind of people?
I am 100% a grab and go. What I wear to the workplace is completely dependent on what is clean. What is like, the only thing I do is I'll be like, okay, I know I have like 3 good pairs of pants. I know I at least have 1 that's clean. I'm okay for tomorrow. I could string together a shirt. Then I also make sure that my breast milk hose feed is covered for the workday. That no one.
Oh yeah, that's important.
I put the cover on, but no, I do not plan anything at all.
Okay,
at all.
Yeah. So I'm kind of the same way. I just like grab and go. I don't really put too much thought into it, and I think it kind of backfired to me last week. So
Okay.
I'm like in work. And I'm just like doing some stuff in front of the computer, and somebody from work walks by.
I hope this story doesn't end with you wore your disgusting, smelly gym clothes that you almost got kicked out of the gym from, and you were like,
no.
Now I'm getting smell reports at work. It's getting awkwardly strange here.
I've never received a smell report at work. Okay,
you don't know what your file says. Anyway,
so like I was working in an office, and the guy walked by, and he's like, "You're giving me a blank vibe right now. I'm going to send you the picture in a moment." It was something that kind of caught me off guard, where it wasn't insulting, but at the same time, I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? This doesn't make sense. And I went to the bathroom, and goddamn, that person was 100 on that vibe, because the second I saw it, I said, son of a...
Now...
So it's an occupation, if you will, of a company.
Okay.
You're getting the picture right now. I want to see if you want to guess what he said.
Oh, so yeah, I want to guess before. Should I guess before I look at the picture? Like what kind of vibe you were going for?
I think you should look at the picture, because it'd be probably impossible to guess.
Oh, 100%. You're giving off a UPS delivery man kind of vibe at work. Let me 100%. Let me explain the picture to our audience here.
Yeah.
So Mike is wearing cargo green khaki shorts, olive green, like military-esque color, if you will. And then he is wearing a straight up brown button-down t-shirt, short sleeve t-shirt. And then his hat also has some brown on the insignia that is on the front of the hat. So there's a good amount of brown, a good amount of kind of drab colors that you might expect a delivery person. So let me guess, he came up to you and said, "You're giving me a big UPS vibe right now."
100%. That's what he said to me. And it's one of those, at first, I'm like, you stare at them, what the hell? And he's like, it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's like, well, if you have to announce somebody's vibe, it's generally you have a comment to say. So
no, were you offended by his UPS dig at you?
It was at first one of those what the hell kind of moments.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, I went to the bathroom, and it's one of those,
Oh, you should have
Like,
came out.
immediately, you're like, oh my God, I don't blame you even a millisecond.
You should have came out and dropped the package on his desk like later on.
But that adds to the story because I did have to bring a package out, and I get in the elevator,
Yeah.
and then 2 floors down, it opens up, and a FedEx guy comes in, and he looks at me, and he gives me the exact same answer, and I'm like, yes, I know, there's nothing I can do. He's like, bro, you can go like into any one of these offices, grab a package, and just take off, and nobody will question you once about
I picture you like running into the FedEx guy, and it becomes like that Spider-Man meme where they're all pointing at each other. Like, you look at. Yeah.
So let's just say I got to go to work 2 days. I'm going to put a little more planning into this so I don't be called like next week the McDonald's guy.
Oh, I think you should double down. I think you should go full like FedEx. I think they have like what, like a little purple in their their colors.
They're purple, orange, and white. I think it is.
Yeah, well, whatever. Yeah, I think you should try to really look exactly like the FedEx guy, and then maybe the next time go like U.S. Postal Service worker, go like the blue mailman look, and really get a vibe around the office that hey, it's the delivery guy, it's the Mike. He does that, for a good laugh around the office, and you just become known as delivery man, and it's like your thing.
Everything is deliveries. And whenever, like, I had to like come in one day as the DHL guy.
Yes, exactly. Amazon Prime vest you could wear one day. And what you do is you really lean into it. You don't send emails anymore. You just deliver handwritten things in packages on everybody's desk, like,
and make everybody sign it so I have a receipt.
Yes. It's
like, Burlew, my laptop ain't working. If you can clearly see on the 12th, you signed for this, where I stated
exactly. As the month goes on, you could be the milkman. You could deliver, nice warm milk to everybody on their desk. You could really
my hose.
Yes. You could really become like the office, like mascot if you want to lean into that.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. But, or you could just dress not like a
normally
worker. Yeah. But no, I will only, the most planning I will do is be like, okay, I know I have to do wash for the upcoming week of my clothes, but there is zero plan what is actually going on my body. So,
well, just be careful. Because you might accidentally become a delivery boy if you don't figure this out.
I can't wait till like there's some Costanza moment and they're like calling you the delivery man. And you're like, no, I'm not the delivery man.
I'm like, T-Bone.
Yeah,
dang it.
Exactly. It's the Burls. It's the Burls, damn it. Okay, delivery man. Well, you win some, you lose some. You would just happen to be. Oh, you definitely. I mean, if you look at it from far away, it could be UPS.
I feel when you release this episode, you should get a picture of a general UPS guy and myself and say, ask who wore it better.
No, 100%. 100%. Have you ever caught your wife like in a public situation, like in a conversation, just completely BSing with someone, and that it's 100% like that never happened, or that this is a fake store, or kind of like something that you can't not comment on as she's talking?
I mean, there are some where she'll leave out parts about herself where I'm like, well, while you're telling this story, and she'll go, no, kind of like that. My wife is not a BSer, but she'll leave out key items in certain stories, if you will.
Okay. So my wife will do the thing where she's being like overly kind and kind of like adapting to what they're talking about. Like maybe it's like she wants to contribute to the conversation and she's just trying to be nice. So, but our friends have their friends in from, I don't remember where they're from, somewhere in Pennsylvania or Ohio or something. So whatever, we're like all hanging out and they're talking, they're nice people. And she's like, yeah, we went over to Europe on vacation. We went to France. It was beautiful. And then like, I really wanted to go see the beaches of Normandy. And then I hear my wife go, oh, Normandy, I heard beautiful. I heard it's really beautiful there. Like, and the beaches are like great this time of year. And I'm like, I took a pause, and I'm like, did my wife just say the beaches of Normandy are a beautiful place to visit?
That's what they're well known for, Scott. The beauty and the sunsets and nothing historical that I can think of.
So I was in this moment where, do I say I need to? Because in a way, I'm kind of saving her, right? If I at least call her out, like, because then they're thinking like, oh man, this woman's a complete, BS artist, or what is she saying? Mm-hmm. So I took a breath and I'm like, babe, did you just say the beaches of Normandy are nice? I'm like, D-Day, like the bloodiest day in like American war history. Like,
but the weather was beautiful that day. The sunset was coming up. I mean, I could just, if there weren't screams, you could really admire it.
And I was like, my grandfather was in like the second wave of Normandy, and he literally couldn't go into the woods the rest of his life because he was afraid and shell shocked. I'm like, the first scene of Saving Private Ryan, mm-hmm. where the U-boats are coming up and people are just getting shot and blown apart. That's Normandy. And she was like, oh shit.
Yeah, you can't go in the forest because all I can think about is that beautiful beach. We've been through this, Scott.
She was pretty embarrassed, but she wasn't mad at me, so that was good, because that's a fine line you got to walk. Like, if I call her out, then I'm calling her out in front of people, but I'm also calling her out so she doesn't sound completely, like an idiot. Like, oh, the Normandy, did you get a Airbnb there? Did you get a nice beach location? Like, did you guys surf?
We should do a beer run to Auschwitz. I hear it's beautiful this time of year.
And then I had another thing, which was kind of on me, and I'm curious what you would do here. So my wife is like, so we have the baby around, so she's like hypersensitive to everything. She's much more of a worrywart than me as far as like anything with the baby. And she's definitely like, she's kind of like sick of the dog, like getting in things and being on the couch and kind of being near the kid. And she's like, he goes outside and, he brings ticks in and whatnot, which he doesn't bring ticks in. But so I'm like, he takes his tick medication. He's fine. I'm like, we can keep him off. So then the other day, she's sitting there with the baby and she goes, oh. And she's like, there's a bug on me. And she's like, oh my God, there's a bug on my neck. Was it a tick? And it was on the ground. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, it was a tick. Okay. Mm. Now, this is where I had to make the decision. Do I tell her, yes, this was a tick, and I get the onslaught? See, I told you it was the dog, blah, blah, blah. Or do I take the bug, squash it, throw it in the garbage, and say, oh, it was one of those black ants? I'm curious what your decision would be.
B, not a question, not a doubt, not a blink of an eye, all that. Like, my wife gets very nervous and concerned about certain things. When we were, when I was out during the 4th of July, there's a Facebook page for the neighborhood that she chose to get off of because people were bitching about stuff here and there, but somebody basically put on there.
Are you telling me people were bitching online?
It's the dark web, Scott. It's not the normal stuff.
Everything I see is like Shangri-La. People love each other. They respect each other's opinions. It's interesting.
Yeah. But I saw it on the internet, and then later, like as I was walking, a truck came up to me and told me, hey, the cops were chasing somebody through the neighborhood. Give you a heads up. And I know, I told my wife that, she wouldn't sleep for 2 weeks straight. I was dead determined not to tell her. And that night we were walking with our neighbor who we used to run with, and she brought up the story, but she finished it with, she brought up the story, oh, the cops caught that person running around and on like it is. Oh my god! And I just turned to her. I'm like, yeah, I knew, but I knew you couldn't handle it. So
yeah, I chose B also myself. Squashed the tick, threw it in the garbage. Says, oh, it was one of those like big black ants. And she's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, don't worry about it.
And listen, if there's one person who can figure out what a black ant looks like, it's Scott Brennan. So when Scott Brennan tells you it's a black ant, there's no question it's a black ant.
Yeah. So I think I dodged a bullet on that one. And real quick before we go, yesterday my son cracks me up. He's in this stage where when he poops, he needs privacy. He's like, all right, daddy, leave, turn the light on, close the door, and leave. I'm like, okay.
And you're one that likes to watch. Gotcha.
And I'm like, okay, just make sure you call me when you're ready to wipe. We got to wipe your butt before you go back home. So I'm right around the corner and I hear, daddy. I'm like, okay, I open the door and he's sitting on the toilet. I'm like, oh, nice. Did you go poop? And he's like, no. I'm like, did you go poop? I'm like, I see it. I'm like, what is that? He goes, no. I'm like, he's like, it's pee. I'm like, what are those big brown things? He's like, you know what that is. That's poop. Like this sarcastic. You know what that is. That's poop, man. So it was a great moment in fathering, if you will. But
then you high-fived and you're like, oh, I probably should have had you wash your hands beforehand.
Yeah. I'm like, come here, boy. Come get some hose water. On that note.
Just connect the hose to the faucet. Hold up, kid.
On that note, it's good to be back. We'll try to keep these coming as long as my children cooperate. But we are back. We got some cool guests on the way. Mike, anything to promote before we roll out of here?
Well, as Scott alluded to earlier in the podcast, I was just on the Man Hour NFL Talk podcast, where they do weekly, daily even talks about the upcoming NFL season all throughout. I joined to be the analyst for my Washington Commanders, or the Manders as all you call it. So that was real fun chatting with Mike Buckster on that. And if you want to check out on Facebook, it's facebook.com/Man Hour Talk, or you can go to manhour.co for all his podcasts. And I might be coming back on to do more talk during the season about those Manders, Scotty.
Very cool. I wish you no luck with your Manders, but
he ranks your Giants to go 2-15 as an FYI.
Wow, 2-15. Wow. I was going to say like 7-9 or whatever we got, 7-10, something like that this year. But 2, oof, that's rough. But anyway, I don't really have much to promote other than our newsletter. I've been trying to send it out. We put last week we had Burlew write something about fireworks. I'm going to keep putting in a couple things. I'm trying to get that together and kind of really dial in the vision of that, but I'm going to try some different things on there. So sign up. It is our Verbal Shenanigans Substack. All we need is just your email. You could also subscribe to it right through Substack. Just look up Verbal Shenanigans. So other than that, guys, life is funny. Keep laughing. No, see, I just messed up the outro.
Wow. You're rusty, bro.
I'm off. You know what? Instead of, guys, life is funny. You know what that is. That's poop.
I'd say my last words, but it might be too soon after last week.
Keep the wind at your back.